And today what we're going to be talking about are clutches. So recently what had happened was I was unable to keep my car still, my low C810 still, during idle without it moving. And I went through all sorts of troubleshooting techniques. First things first is the carburetor opening. You can see here I've got it at what I would consider to be probably about a normal setting. You can see I took great care of the carb opening. I made sure that the springs and everything was aligned perfectly. And so that finally led me to believe it was the clutch, because it was essentially moving when it shouldn't be moving. The engine and all that other stuff is okay. I messed with the low speed needle. I did all the good stuff. Anyways, so today we're going to talk about one of my favorite components to the Nitro engine, and that is the clutch. Look at this thing. Look how beautiful this thing is. In this video, I'm going to teach you about what clutches do. What's the purpose of it? You can see here there's really not, from the time I brake, I mean, it seems like it's working correctly. There's not any change or anything like that. Well, the whole idea behind a clutch is to move the car once the engine gets enough RPM to where the crankshaft on here is turning, to where all of a sudden the clutch assembly starts turning so quickly that there's some clutch shoes in there and they start to expand. So they're going so fast in a motion that they ended up expanding, and what they do then is they touch the inside shell of this clutch bell right here. And that's what you call centrifugal force. So think in terms of maybe when you're a kid or something, there used to be like a little amusement ride where you'd stand on the side, and as it went faster and faster and faster into a circle, you would suddenly stick to the wall. Well, that's exactly what happens with clutch shoes. They go so fast, 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 fast that they touch the inside here, as I just mentioned, of this clutch bell. And this is just a different clutch bell from this motor here. They touch the inside of the clutch bell, and once they do, they start turning the clutch bell, and that's what turns the motor. So that's how it is that you're able to idle and not move the car, because the clutch bell is not moving enough, if at all, to engage the spur gear, which in turn moves the car. So what happened with me was the clutch on my low C810, it has a spring. So there's two shoes on there that has a spring that goes around it, and it broke. Meaning there was nothing that was holding the clutch shoes from engaging the inside of the clutch bell, making it turn. So that's okay, because what that means is, in my next video, which you'll see this weekend, I'm going to put on a brand new 3-shoe clutch system, the M2C 3-clutch shoe for the low C810. And what this will do is give me more pop, because this is a 2-shoe clutch, and I'm going to show you what shoes are in a minute, but they're essentially the things inside of here, as I mentioned, that touch the clutch bell. This right here is an example of a clutch shoe. And what I'm going to do is put this on this new flywheel, because the clutch shoes go on the flywheel, and then put the new clutch bell over it. So again, watch my video that I have coming up. I think clutches are very, very interesting. There's all different types of clutch shoes you can get. I've got these aluminum ones here. The springs dictate how the clutch opens. So in other words, how quickly it takes for these clutch shoes to end up coming out of their spring and end up engaging the clutch bell. And of course that determines the type of kick, if you will, that you have in your car, whether your car is going to accelerate at higher RPMs or at lower RPMs. And just like with everything in this hobby, it's so important to know what you're doing before you do it. So in other words, when my low C810 kept moving while at idle, I didn't start tearing things down. I started troubleshooting. So I started thinking, okay, what could it be? I put a new throttle servo on, so I checked the settings on that. I checked the carburetor opening. I went through all sorts of different troubleshooting techniques. And it turned out what I suspected all along was my clutch. I don't say this to brag or anything like that, but it does kind of show that I'm learning a little bit more about the hobby, and that as I learn things, I'm able to place them in order and troubleshoot in that order. And speaking of order, as we go through and take this off, it's very, very important that they go back exactly as they were. That's much like every component on the Nitro engine. The clutch especially is something that has to go back on to where it's going to perform like you expect it to. There's very, very, very little room for error when putting your clutch back on. So please do watch part 2 of how Nitro RC clutches work. I'm going to be putting this together this Saturday, which would be August, probably the 18th, I believe. So if you happen to be watching this prior to then you'll just have to wait. If not, please just go ahead and look for part 2 of this video. Thanks.